21 minutes past the hour right now. New York Congressman Anthony Weiner is very remorseful, he says, but very determined as well not to resign over this scandal. Weiner's political future is still unclear, though, following his tearful admission that he sent sexual messages and lewd photos to a half-dozen women he met online.
To be clear, the picture was of me, and I sent it. I'm deeply sorry for the pain this has caused my wife, Huma, and our family, and my constituents, my friends, supporters, and staff. I haven't told the truth, and I've done things I deeply regret. I brought pain to people I care about the most, and the people who believed in me. And for that, I'm deeply sorry.
It was just a few minutes after the end of that press conference that Nancy Pelosi's office released a statement saying they indeed are opening a House ethics investigation into this. Joining us to talk about the political fallout from Washington, Roll Call political reporter Emily Heil, and with us here is CNN contributor Errol Lewis. Great to see both of you. Emily, just let me ask you quickly, can he survive this, given that now there is going to be a House Ethics Committee investigation looking into whether, I believe, he used any government phones or computers when conducting these inappropriate relationships?
Well, the truth is actually that House rules certainly contemplate members of Congress using their official phones and official resources for some personal activity. And it's completely agnostic as to whether you're calling your wife to make dinner plans or your mistress to flirt. House rules actually don't ban that. So I actually think that if he's being honest, if there weren't, violations that went beyond that, I think he could survive that ethics probe very easily, because the House rules really don't preclude calling your mistress and flirting or sending a flirty email. That's really not against House rules. People are talking about that, and I think that
what about just workplace rules in general about lewd material being sent or lewd text messages? Some of the shots that were sent don't necessarily look appropriate, and then apparently there are claims that there are other ones that are even worse.
Well, those aren't the subject of House rules. House rules contemplate personal use, but they don't go to content. So that's something I think that people will be looking at. I think people will be concerned about. But to be honest, you are perfectly allowed to use your house phone to call your wife or to call your kids or call your mistress. So, some of this might be upsetting to people, and it certainly will be upsetting to taxpayers who think, well, why am I paying for this? But to be honest, they're paying for all of their members to conduct some personal business on their official equipment.
Errol, I want to ask you, because you're a local reporter. You've covered Weiner as well as other congressmen, and you actually talked to him. He lied to you in the wake of this when it first surfaced last week.
Yes.
Credibility, speaking to his credibility, even if he does survive it, will he remain a viable congressman?
His credibility with the press is, and those of us that he lied to, is severely reduced. And I'm not sure when he's going to be back on our show or others like it. But, he, in his district, we had a reporter out there watching in a diner with other of his constituents as this was all going on yesterday, and many of them seem to be forgiving. The attitude being, look, if his wife takes him back, who are we to say? Has he been useful? Is he really sorry? Do we have all of the facts? So all of those questions are still being asked. If he gets affirmative answers to all or most of them, he may be okay. Of course, the big thing that he was a candidate for mayor in 2013. He was arguably the front runner. He'd raised more money than anybody else. That is completely out of reach now, because the mayor of New York City now runs the school system for about the last 9 years or so. And people, parents are not going to look away at something like this. So that part of his ambition seems to be closed off. He says he wants to try and run for election again. It sounds like that's going to be between him and the voters.
That'll be interesting. And Emily, the other question that was circulating around yesterday, because, all of this, and we're talking about social networking, people were responding in real time at that very wacky press conference that took place yesterday afternoon. First, Andrew Breitbart, the guy who uncovered this, or at least exposed this scandal through his website, was out there talking at a press conference that was supposed to be Anthony Weiner's. Then he comes up and starts talking. But I noticed a lot of people writing, how do these guys, and this is a bipartisan issue really, think they can continue to get away with this? This is not the first, and it certainly won't be the last that we've heard of men in power taking these very risky chances, seemingly without regard for what the fallout will be.
It is stunning. And, you know, I think that the reason that they think they can get away with it is probably because many of them do. We know about a few of these instances, but we certainly don't know about them all. And there is something to coming to Washington, and I've covered this extensively. Men who come to Washington, often they're without their wives. They spend a lot of time here in Washington, and when they get here, there's always someone willing to give them whatever they need, whether it's a briefing, you know, on the hearing tomorrow morning or a date. I mean, they get what they want, and I think in a professional context, and that bleeds over into the personal.
How, politically speaking, does he have many supporters left? I mean, are people standing by him, especially those in the New York delegation?
We have not heard from any of them. And there was always this underlying problem where Anthony Weiner was considered a show horse rather than a workhorse. We see him on cable TV all the time, but that's not really where a lot of the work gets done in the district. There are a lot of meetings, there's a lot of hard work that gets done. So there's a certain amount of satisfaction from some of his colleagues, frankly, saying, like, look, the guy got what was coming to him. On the other hand, they can't lightly dismiss him. He's a very powerful patron, his former employer, the senior Senator Chuck Schumer. He's married to someone who was very close to the Clintons, and so they can't just roll over him. But he doesn't have a lot of supporters. Compare this to what Charlie Rangel went through when he had a very serious ethics scandal.
Right.
There were members, including from the other party, sitting with him as he was on television, being admonished. So Anthony Weiner hasn't seen any of that, and it's very telling.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. Emily Heil, political reporter with Roll Call, Era Lewis, CNN contributor and political anchor at New York One. Great to see both of you this morning. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
48 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back.